Hi, in today's video, I'll be showing you how to clean your engine bay from looking like this to this with just a few items and one product. So stay tuned. Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today I'll be cleaning my engine bay. And from my last video, as I was cleaning my engine filter, I noticed that it was a little dirty and I wanted to go ahead and clean it. So while I'm cleaning it, I wanted to share with you on the process on how I clean my engine. As you can see, it's pretty dirty. It has a few oil stains and the sides are, dirt. And I think it's been almost 8 months or a year maybe now that I have not cleaned the engine. So let's go ahead and I'll show you the items I use and the material or the product that I use. So here's the items and the product that I use. And for the cleaning part of it, I use the Gunk Engine Cleaner Foamy. And from there, it's about $6. So it's not bad. And I think I only have half a can left. And I also use the sponge, the hand sponge, and 3 plastic bags to cover all my electrical parts and like the alternator, the battery, and my air intake. And I'll be just covering half of the battery, not the full battery. And the last thing is my DeWalt air blower. I'll be using that just to, at the start, to blow the dust or the leaves that's in the back area out of the engine, and also at the end where I will be blowing some of the water that's still sitting. So let's start by adding the 3 plastic piece to my alternator, intake, and battery. First, I'm gonna start with my alternator, and I'll be just covering it and making sure it's covered and having the plastic bag covered all the way down so that when the water hits, it'll just drip right down instead of sitting there. And next, I'll be covering my air intake. What I usually do, I try to fold it in half and shove it in there and try to cover it as much as I can so that the water won't go in. And I try to fold it so no water will try to get in. I usually don't try to spray directly on the areas that I know water's not supposed to go to. I just try to go over it or lightly spray around it. But if I covered it, I'm pretty sure it's protected. And for the battery, I just try to cover half of it where the terminals are, and that's all. So now let me just double check everything's in place, and that's good. And also my intake is covered and my alternator. So now let's start by blowing the engine with the blower just to get the dust, just to free up anything that is on there. And next, I start adding the Foamy by Gunk Engine Cleaner. So I go ahead and spray the areas that I like to try to clean, and I try to put a little more in some areas that look to me more dirty that I needed the product done. So like the front, it's a little bit, so I just put a little bit on there. On the engine, some of the areas, and on the sides where it was really dusty and some of the dirts are pretty much dry on there, I add some on there and on top of the plastic, but just enough. I don't go crazy adding the product. And once I get the areas I wanted, I usually let it sit for 10 minutes. They recommend 10 to 15 minutes, but for me, I usually do 10 minutes. As you can see on the left hand side, it's already starting to break down the dirt. So I'm just finishing up, adding just a little bit more, and I'll let it sit for 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, I take the hand sponge and I try to move around and agitate some of the areas that you just want to move around the dirt or loosen the dirt, so that when you spray it down, all you're gonna be doing is pretty much trying to get all the chemicals out or the product out. And this kind of helps just by agitating the dirt where all the chemicals are, and it'll make it a lot faster. And the process of just spraying, trying to get all the chemicals out, and all the dirt will just go with it. So here's me scrubbing the back and all the little areas that I feel like it needs. And after the 5 minutes remaining, I let it sit. I go ahead and start hosing it down. It's not really high power hose. It's just enough to where I could remove some of the product already, and try to get the areas that where I sprayed it on. And as you can see on the right hand side, most of the product and the dirt has already come off. And I'm just going ahead lightly going, and I'm not targeting areas real hard except for this back area, because I know it's only plastic, and I usually spray in there because where I spray inside, it feels like the product will be sitting there, so I try to go back and forth in that area. And now that I'm spraying the left hand side, as you can see, now that side is pretty much clean. So pretty much all you want to try to do is just get all the product off, and make sure that it's off. And if you can see any sitting areas that you think that might be where the product could sit, just go ahead and spray that area down, like what I'm doing, like the back of the glass or the firewall. And pretty much I just try to get as much as I can, but I don't spray directly. I just get it enough to just make sure I remove all the product. Yeah, and I know some people really say that this could damage the engine. And for me, I've already done this a couple times, and let's say last year, and I've done it to my other cars. So nothing has happened. This car is still okay. So it's up to you. It's your choice. But I just wanted to show you my process of how I clean my engine. I don't do this as a professional. I just do it on my own. I just wanted to share how I go ahead and clean my engine. So next, once I spray it down, I go ahead and take the blower again and try to blow out all the water that may be sitting, and help myself minimize me wiping it all down. So what I do is just blow all the little corners here and there, and all the areas that I know that I won't be able to get, just like that back area that I was spraying, because maybe the chemical was sitting there, and maybe now the water is sitting there. I blow that back area, and the engine, the front areas, all the little areas that I could think of that where I won't be able to reach. I go ahead and use the blower and just try to get as much as I can with the blower, because after that I will be wiping it down. And usually you could leave it and just let it dry, but what I do, I blow it and I also wipe it down. And usually this is the part that I try to do the longest, so that I don't want to wipe everything down, and this kind of helps me out. And usually after I blow and wipe, I let it sit for another 10 minutes or so. And today's a good day, it's sunny, that it'll kind of help me out, let it dry some areas that, as the day is sunny, it'll dry out some areas also. So once I finish blowing the engine, I take out the plastic from my alternator and also from my air intake, and from my battery. And from there, I just go ahead and go at it. And they say you could leave it, let it dry, but for me, I like to just wipe it down and save myself from uh, letting it sit and drying, and then maybe later on it'll be still wet. So after the blowing, I wipe it down, all the areas that still looks to me that's wet, and I kind of like it because it helps if there was some dirt that was left over. And usually after I wipe it down, I let it sit for another 10 minutes. Like I said, the day is sunny and it'll help me out by letting it dry even more. And once I know I got all the errors that I could think of, here's the final result. After the 10 minutes I let it sit, and I'll show you now. So the left side, you can see it's really clean. I like it the way it looks. It's dry. And the back area, the firewall area, uh, and also the battery and the right side of it, I really like how it came out. So I usually don't put the shining chemical. I just let it sit, and I like the look. So if you like it, it's up to you. But I like letting it just dry without the shiny chemical. And if you like this video and you'd like to go ahead and clean your engine, uh, please like, subscribe, and share. And thank you for watching.